Welcome to BattleBots at Home. It's time for the round of 16. After tonight, we will only have 8 bots that will compete in next week's final to determine our BattleBots at Home champion. Win and you move on, but lose and your tournament dreams end here. We're down to the absolute 16 best bots in the entire competition. These are the absolute cream of the crop. They've survived so many brutal fights just to make it here, and they'll have to win one more if they want to make it to our final episode. For our first 5 of the night, we have the fantastic Flipper of Hydration facing off against the creative control bot of Gridlock. Both of these bots were able to get really incredible KOs in the round 32. Gridlock was able to easily get Minotaur out of the arena, while Hydration threw glass at the wall so hard it shattered. Both these bots are just so dominant and so dangerous in their own ways, but only one will make it to our final episode and get one step closer to winning the giant disc. Who will it be? Let's find out. Three, 2, 1. Let the bot battle begin. Remember, there's a lot at stake here. This is for a place in our grand final episode. Already Gridlock getting underneath Hydration. That's a good strategy. If Hydration can't get underneath you, they can't flip you. Just like they're doing right now, Hydration needs to win the ground game in order to use their weapon. And when they do win that ground game, you get tossed into the sky, getting a good flip on Gridlock. Not the height we're used to, but oh, Gridlock counters by showing Hydration through the polarizer, slamming them into the corner, and just keeping them at the sides. They want to avoid the front end as much as possible. They don't want to get flipped. Oh, Hydration. Oh, good flip there. Hydration get, oh, another huge flip. Hydration has a lot of power in that flipper. Gridlock cannot take too many shots. Oh, getting a good lift on Hydration there. Good strategy there. Hydration just trying to get to the sides of Gridlock. Gridlock getting to the sides of Hydration. It's all about getting to the sides here. Both bots want to avoid it. Oh, huge flip there by Hydration. Out of the frame of the camera. Just a massive flip. And another good flip. Hydration, just so much power in that flipper. Gridlock is really feeling the pain right now. Gridlock has to move back from this. Gridlock, oh no, huge hit there. And another huge flip. Hydration showing what they're capable of. Oh no, the flipper has broken off. This is exactly what happened in their fight against Bronco. They were also flipping Bronco all over the place before their flipper just broke off. And now this happened again. And without a primary weapon, this fight may just be over. Gridlock getting underneath Hydration. Hydration's flipped over. And without their flipper, they can't self-right. And just like that, Hydration has been eliminated from the competition. Gridlock will move forward. Hydration, very disappointing way to lose. They actually were getting some massive flips on Gridlock, just really tossing them all over the place. And that's what Hydration's good at, just throwing bots as high as they can and doing damage via gravity. And however, they do need to end fights quickly, because whenever they don't end fights quickly, this happened. The robot wasn't durable enough. The flipper broke off after that last flip on Gridlock. And after that, they didn't have a weapon. Gridlock survived the hits. They're durable enough. And because of that, they'll get the first spot in our top 8 grand final. In our next matchup, we have Inverse taking on the number 3 seed Blacksmith. Funny enough, Inverse actually already defeated a Hammerbot in the round 32 against Slick, but their hammer just broke off. Blacksmith is way more durable, and they use that durability to completely destroy unintended consequences. Which bot will reign supreme, the chaotic hammer of Blacksmith or the controlled lifter of Inverse? Let's find out. Three, 2, 1. Let the bot battle begin. The number 3 seed Blacksmith taking on a very low seeded bot in Inverse, but Inverse has a lot of potential, and they're showing it as they get to the sides of Blacksmith, avoiding that hammer. They rip off one of the side panels already damaged in favor of Inverse, and Inverse just really bullying Blacksmith right now. Oh, but Blacksmith counterattacks, throwing them into the wall, bringing down that hammer, and oh, but getting to the side, that lifter of Inverse is showing what they can do. Blacksmith all over the place, they lose more pieces, but Blacksmith isn't scared. They're going to fire that hammer no matter what. Very aggressive attacks from Blacksmith, but Inverse is getting behind them. They're definitely more controlled here. Blacksmith just trying to attack back as hard as they can. That hammer hits really hard, but Inverse just doesn't care. They can take the hits, and they'll just keep getting underneath Blacksmith and trying to control them around the box. Do what they can, but now Blacksmith gets underneath Inverse, pushing them into the corner. Here comes the hammer. Getting pushed into the sidewall goes Black. Oh my god! The fight is over. Blacksmith's out of the arena. And just like that, Inverse has won the fight and got a major upset. This was an incredible fight. Inverse showed that despite being much lower seeded, they are an amazing control bot. Blacksmith, that hammer was powerful, but didn't help that much against the durability of Inverse. Inverse just controlled Blacksmith all around the box as much as they could. They did everything they could to just control the pace of the match and just did what they want. Eventually, they just pushed Blacksmith out of the arena, and just like that, they will move on to our grand final episode. Up next, we have the incredibly dangerous Hammersaw Sawblaze facing off against the undefeated Rambot in Emergency. Last time we saw Emergency, they showed off just why they're so high-seeded and why they're still undefeated. They just rammed Wave all around the box before eventually shoving them right out of the arena. However, I think it's safe to say Sawblaze, unlike anything Emergency has ever faced before, this spot has just been slashing robots to pieces all tournament long, and that's exactly what they did to Barnacles in the round 32. They just sliced the tracks right off the bot and left it to die in a corner. This bot is brutal, and if Emergency isn't careful, their run could end here. It's time to find out which one of these two mean, green, fighting machines will make it to the top 8. Let's head down to the box. Three, 2, 1. Let the bots battle begin. And already the lifter of Emergency has come off, but that doesn't really mean anything. That has happened in every single match so far. What really matters is the ramming power of Emergency, and the two bots just meet head to head. Already Sawblaze is trying to see what to do. They know Emergency is a different kind of opponent. They get behind them, avoiding the front wedge. Good idea. As they attack the back with that hammer saw, just bringing out that hammer saw, trying to do damage to the top armor of Emergency. Emergency able to take the hits well so far, but they gotta turn around right now, and now they're getting hit by the pulverizer and the hammer saw at the same time. Just amazing control via Sawblaze. Sawblaze just showing what they are capable of. That big dustpan already, Emergency flipped over, and now Sawblaze trying to attack the wheels. They could potentially slice one or two off. Sawblaze is trying to attack the bottom side of Emergency. Can Emergency survive the hits? We're not really sure, but Sawblaze is just attacking as much as they can, as often as they can. Sawblaze is trying to get underneath Emergency, and they're doing a good job. Those free forks. Oh, well, they just lost one of the forks, so that is damage in favor of Emergency, but overall, Sawblaze still seems to be doing better so far. Sawblaze getting underneath Emergency once again. Just getting underneath Emergency, bringing out a hammer saw once again. More of the same, it would seem. Emergency still fighting back. They're still in working order. Sawblaze, on the sidewall, just pushing into Emergency. Emergency just doing whatever they can, which is not much. And Emergency's kind of stuck on the sidewall. This is pretty bad. They could get counted out. Are they stuck? We're not really sure right now. Sawblaze is attacking them anyways, just getting some... This is just target practice for Sawblaze. Just attacking this poor defenseless bot. We're about halfway through this fight, and Emergency really needs to catch them on points. They've survived, but you can't just survive to win. You need to get some points yourself. Emergency just hasn't done a lot. Sawblaze just doing whatever they want. Emergency is like a practice dummy for them. Just Sawblaze just absolutely abusing them as much as they can into the other wall. And Emergency, they got a minute left to really catch up here. There isn't much to do. Sawblaze is trying to kill Emergency. I don't think they can. Emergency just too durable and too tough. Oh, finally Emergency gets some more attacks, getting to the sides and getting behind Sawblaze. Sawblaze just gets underneath them once again, bringing out a hammer saw. We got about 40 seconds left. Emergency needs to get a surprise KO victory if they want to win this fight. I don't know what else they can do. Sawblaze just very controlled, bringing out a hammer saw once again. I've lost track of how many times they fired it, but it doesn't matter. Just they keep hitting them again and again and again. Here comes the polarizer as well. Things are not looking good for Emergency so far. Emergency just really useless right about now. They've been so dominant. They haven't lost a fight this season, but I think they're about to. And Emergency kind of just dead in the water. They're still moving, but I don't think it matters. I think it's far too late for them to come back. Sawblaze is absolutely dominant, and while they may not get a KO, they are looking pretty dominant as the fight winds down, and we'll be going to the judges. Well, that was a fun fight, although I think it's pretty obvious who won. Now, we gotta commend Emergency. They didn't put up much of a fight, but they survived the full 3 minutes. Not a lot of robots can say that when going up against Sawblaze. Emergency, they finally met their match. They were doing so well. but they just met their match in Sawblaze. Their wedge wasn't low enough to get underneath Sawblaze. Sawblaze got underneath them every chance they got, and they just cut them up as much as they could. Emergency survived it, but they didn't get a lot of damage, control, or aggression. I think it's safe to say this judge's decision, we all know how it's going to go. And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Sawblaze! Up next is a fight you won't want to miss. We have the number 2 seed, Mr. Slice, facing off against the number 18 seed, Pump Up. Not a lot to say about Mr. Slice other than this thing is scary. There's a reason it's the number 2 seed. This thing has destroyed everything in its path, including the Free Musketeers in their round of 32 fight. This thing hits like a ton of bricks, and if you get hit by it, there's a good chance you won't survive. Despite having a much lower seeding, Pump Up has also proved itself to be capable of great things. In their last match against Grappler, they got an amazing upset as they got the robot out of the arena and stuck on the sidewall in less than 30 seconds. That lifter is unlike anything we've ever seen before. The team has also realized that Mr. Slice does have one good weakness, and that's the fact that it cannot self-right. One good flip is all they need to win the fight, and so they'll be using the same configuration they used to KO Minotaur in their first fight of the season. Let's see if it will work out this time. 3, 2, 1. Let the bot battle begin. This may just be the toughest fight of Pump Up's career as they face the best football ice cream we've ever seen. Mr. Slice, only one more win away from our grand final. Oh, already taking pieces off of Pump Up. That's what they do best. This robot hits very, very hard. Pump Up just trying to survive, trying to lift them. They have failed so far. Need to flip them over as soon as possible. More pieces come off of Pump Up. Mr. Slice is bouncing off the walls. They need to be careful, otherwise things could go wrong. Oh, just like that, they hit the wall so hard, the entire shell has cracked. The entire weapon of Mr. Slice is gone. Mr. Slice is now defenseless. The entire shell is gone. Just a tiny little body now. But on the other hand, Pump Up is falling apart as well. An entire side panel has come off, and both these bots are very crippled. Both these bots are very damaged, and both bots are in danger of dying at any second. I don't know what's happening. Pump Up just barely moving. Meanwhile, Mr. Slice is pinned to the wall. Oh, but the body's upside down, and they cannot self-right. And despite everything we've seen, Pump Up has won this fight. Pump Up has won this fight in spectacular fashion. Let me tell you, I was really on the edge of my seat for this one. Pump Up has managed to take down the number 2 seed. Mr. Slice, such a dangerous robot, but Pump Up was able to take the hits. Sure, they didn't come out unscathed. Pieces came off. But in the end, Mr. Slice's greatest enemy was itself. They bounced into the walls. They couldn't handle their own hits. And after a few more wall bounces, the entire shell came off. At that point, they were defenseless. Pump Up was on its last legs, but it got the one lift it needed. And just like that, Pump Up has defeated the number 2 seed. Up next, we have the big bar spinner, A Bad Idea, taking on the vert combination lifter of Whiplash. Bad Idea is really riding high after an amazing win against Witch Doctor in the round of 32. They ripped off their self-ride mechanism and then flipped them over for an automatic win. Their opponent is the mighty Whiplash, who's just been about unstoppable this entire season. They went 3-0 during the regular season and got the 5th seed. Then they got matched up against Overlord, and while they had some trouble at first, they quickly came back and bullied Overlord around the box until they stopped moving. Which one of these two bots will make it to our grand final episode? Let's find out. Let's head down to the box right now. Three, 2, 1. Let the bot battle begin. That big bar, Bad Idea, just so visually threatening. Already a piece goes flying off of someone. I'm pretty sure it's Bad Idea. Whiplash's disc is nowhere near as heavy or as big, but it's still dangerous, especially in combination with that lifter. Bad Idea trying to hit the sides, trying to hit the wheels, get those exposed parts, but they get pushed over by Whiplash. Whiplash pushes them into the corner, then backing up, using their amazing drive power and weaponry as a combination, pushing into Bad Idea once again. Bad Idea is very top heavy. It's very easy for them to flip over. It has happened a lot in their other fights, and that's definitely going to happen some more as they face off against the lifter spinner combo of Whiplash. Whiplash, oh, suplex, pushes them behind, now pushes them around into the corner using the backhand maneuver. Whiplash is very versatile. They can do so many things other bots can't. Bad Idea trying to hit the back of the robot, trying to hit the exposed sides. But Whiplash is very... Oh, and just like that, Bad Idea has just snapped in half. The robot's down for the count. And just like that, Whiplash is going to get yet another win and move on to our grand final episode. Bad Idea just snapped in half like a cookie or something. Bad idea. Very bad idea indeed. This fight really was classic Whiplash. Whiplash just a very versatile bot. They can do damage, they can control you, they can do whatever they want with you, and that's what they did to Bad Idea. Bad Idea's big blade, despite how dangerous it's been in the past, it was basically useless against Whiplash. Whiplash, you knowing how to use that weapon right, pushing Bad Idea all around the box, doing whatever they wanted, and eventually they hit him into the wall. Bad Idea split in half, and that was done. Whiplash will definitely be a threat in our grand final. Can't wait to see more of them. Up next, we have 87 going up against the mighty Bronco. Now, these two bots actually have some history together. They fought each other last season, and Bronco just mopped the floor of 87 and eventually threw them right out of the arena. Speaking of throwing bots out of the arena, that's exactly what Bronco did in their round of 32 fight against Jekyll and Hyde. Just tossed a pole multi-bot all over the place, and then threw them right out the ring like they usually do. Meanwhile, 87 was able to use their amazing crushing power to take down the vertical spinner of Magnitude in their round of 32 fight, and they're hoping that they can use that crusher to get revenge against Bronco this time around. Will 87 and its unique weapon be enough to take down the mighty flipper of Bronco? Let's find out. Let's head down to the box. Three, 2, 1. Let the bot battle begin. Bronco immediately underneath 87, flipping him over right away. 87 does not want to repeat what happened last time. 87 wants to advance further onward, but Bronco's not going to let that happen. 87 getting to the side of Bronco. Very easy to get to the side, so rod's very long, but just can't do much of that crush. The top armor of Bronco just very tough. Getting underneath 87 once again, just flipping him around into the screws. Bronco may just be the best flipper we have left in the competition. 87 just trying to get a good bite on Bronco, but he just can't. Bronco just a very slippery bot to get a hold of. Bronco getting underneath 87 once again. Another good flip there. Not too high of a flip, but still pretty good control. Oh, that was a good flip into the pulverizer, and it's just a double team up. Bronco flipping them as they get hit by the pulverizer again and again. And it's just really bad news for 87. 87, oh, on the wall. They're on the wall. Could they go out? Oh, 87 very nearly out of the arena then and there. They were so lucky. Oh, but this isn't lucky at all. Bronco getting underneath them once again. Here comes the pain. Oh, another huge flip by Bronco. 87 self-rights, but they get flipped once again. 87 just very disoriented. There isn't a lot they can do. They're in a lot of trouble right now. 87 just trying to get their bearings straight, trying to see what they can do, but Bronco won't let them. They flip them again and again. This is what Bronco does. They just overpower you and overwhelm you with all these flips all at once. Bronco just getting another good flip. Gets underneath 87. Oh, and that's it. That's it. The fight's over. Out of the arena. And just like that, we have a repeat of what happened last time. You gotta feel bad for 87. For the second year in a row, Bronco has ended their run for the giant disc, and they'll be going home out of the arena. 87 tried their best, but Bronco just an absolute bully. Flipped them every second they got. That flipper just so deadly, so powerful. Eventually they got him in the death zone right near the wall. And after that, there's nothing they could do. Bronco does what it does best. Up next, we have two very different robots facing off against each other. We have Tombstone taking on Very Violent. Tombstone is known as the king of kinetic energy, and for good reason. This bot has torn apart so many opponents, including Mac and Cheese, who they absolutely splattered across the box until there is nothing left. This bot is definitely dangerous. You don't want to mess with it. However, it's worth knowing that Very Violent is actually ranked higher than Tombstone in terms of seeding, and that's because they had a perfect 3-0 record during the main season, but then they proved that it was not a fluke as they eliminated Duck from the competition in less than 20 seconds. It was an amazing fight, and Very Violent, despite how being impractical it is, it keeps finding weird ways to win fights. Does Very Violent even stand a chance against the greatest horizontal spinner we've ever seen? Only one way to find out. Let's head down to the box. Three, 2, 1. Let the bot battle begin. This will be Very Violent's biggest challenge yet. Tombstone, a very destructive robot, and they show it as they tear off both one of the arms and the grabbing arm. Right now, Very Violent only has one lifting arm left. I don't know what they can do. I guess they can do that, and oh my god, they just did it again. Tombstone stuck on their back, and I don't think they can self-right. Tombstone cannot move. We're going to get a count out, and this might be the biggest upset we've seen so far. We've seen a lot of upsets so far. Tombstone cannot move. Very Violent for the 5th time in a row. They've gotten a win that we did not expect. Very Violent will move on to our grand final. I really have no idea how this keeps happening. I don't know how Very Violent keeps winning fights, but it keeps doing so. They lost one of their lifting arms, they lost their grabbing arm, but it did not matter. Very Violent used its weird wrestling tactics or whatever to push Tombstone on its flat end, and the robot just couldn't move from there. Very Violent, a Very Violent robot as they take down a King Kinetic Energy just like that. Could Very Violent be a dark horse for the giant disc? We'll have to find out. Here we are. We've saved the best for last. It's time for the reigning champion Bite Force to defend its title once again against the legendary lifter of Tough. I don't think Bite Force needs any introduction. They're our reigning champion and #1 seed. This bot has never lost a fight across both seasons. After defeating the Legends, they got their 9th win in a row, and they're hoping to make Tough their 10th win. Tough may be the underdog here, but that doesn't mean you should count them out just yet. They're able to take down the mighty Beta in an amazing KO in which they flipped the bot over and they couldn't self-right. Tough, as the name implies, is almost indestructible, and they may just have what it takes to get an upset of a lifetime and be the first bot to ever defeat Bite Force. Let's go down to the box and see who will get our final spot in the grand final episode. Three, 2, 1. Let the bot battle begin. Remember, this is for our final spot in the grand final. Bite Force, the reigning champion. But we've seen many upsets during this episode alone. We've seen the 3 seed fall, we've seen the 2 seed fall, and already the 1 seed may just fall as Tough gets a good lift on Bite Force. Bite Force isn't taking that lightly as they get to the sides of Tough. Tough just trying to get underneath him, trying to get that big lifter underneath them, and they do, once again, getting little nibbles. Bite Force just trying their best here. There's a lot on the line here. If they win this fight, this will be their 10th win. Tough, if they win this fight, they'll be the first bot to ever defeat Bite Force. A lot of pride on the line in this fight. Oh, Tough getting underneath Bite Force once again. Oh, has him on the sidewall. That was good. Bite Force pushes them back into the polarizer. Here it comes. Right now, Bite Force is not letting down the pressure. Tough getting underneath Bite Force once again. That lifter really good at getting underneath Bite Force. Gets in between the wedgelets. Oh, never mind. The lifter's gone. I don't know what happened, but the lifter is just falling off. And just like that, I think this fight might as well be over. Tough completely defenseless. They have no method of attack. Bite Force, that vertical spin is still deadly. And right now, I don't think Tough is even still responsive. Oh, they definitely aren't now as more pieces come flying off. And despite having a strong start, it seems that Tough will be yet another victim of the unbeatable Bite Force. Bite Force will get the final spot in the grand final, where they will fight to retain their title. You gotta commend Tough for doing as well as they did. They got a few good lifts on Bite Force, and things were looking pretty scary for them. A couple of good lifts, and they could have maybe gotten the bot out of the arena or stuck on the sidewall or something. They could have KO'd Bite Force, maybe, but they didn't. Eventually their lifter fell off, and Bite Force just went to work. This right here is why Bite Force is our reigning champion, a very scary robot. 10 wins in a row. They have never lost a fight, and they'll be heading into our grand final, and they'll just be 3 more fights away from winning a second giant disc. They may just be able to do it. I don't know what can stop this god. And with that, we have reached the end of the round of 16. Just to recap, Gridlock outlasted Hydration, Inverse showed Blacksmith who's boss, Sawblaze was blazing hard in its win over Emergency, Pump Up got one of the greatest upsets we've ever seen against Mr. Slice, Whiplash split Bad Idea in half, Bronco took 87 to school, Very Violent made Tombstone dig its own grave, and of course, our reigning champion Bite Force got yet another win against Tough. Throughout this competition, we started with 56 amazing fighting machines, but now we're down to just 8, and those 8 are Whiplash, Bronco, Pump Up, Sawblaze, Gridlock, Inverse, Very Violent, and Bite Force. Next week, these 8 bots will battle it out until only one is left, and one bot will claim the giant disc and become known as the BattleBots at Home 2022 champion. Who will it be? Only one way to find out. We'll see you next week.